What is the difference between being punk and being a punk?
We are here to talk some punk rock, some music, comics,
punk culture, DIY shit, anything we want to talk about.
That's what fascinates me. Give me everything. Absolutely everything.
I find that music and comics have always been intertwined.
Muckspout.
Chicks dig it. Don't worry.
Hey, welcome to Muckspout. Got John over here, over there. And today we are joined by Jeff from That's Good Enough for Me. They have news and such website that's devoted to punk and punk adjacent bands and materials, and so they kind of were a good fit to come on and chat with us about things. And
thank you for having me. There we are.
So welcome.
Thank you.
And so we're hoping to do this semi regularly to chat about the news, which is something we don't really do on here too much, and we've tried to find a way to fit it in, and it hasn't really. So this hopefully this will be a good
Yep, and I haven't had a big chance to. Eric has shown me obviously the website, and I poked around a little bit. But why don't you give us a little, like, the elevator pitch of what your website's like, and what kind of news, and the breakdowns of reviews versus new stuff, and blah blah blah.
Sure. So we are an all-volunteer website. Actually launched in May of 2020, right when the pandemic started. Soon after I left Punk News, I was an editor and reviews editor for Punk News, and then I left. Some creative differences, if you will, and I wasn't going to do anything about news anymore. But then a band in Northern Ireland called Paper Tigers reached out, and they were like, "Hey, you're still at Punk News?" I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Well, we want to do a premiere for a song." I'm like, "Well, I was thinking of starting a site," and he's like, "Well, you should do it." So May 1st, 2020, we launched, and so now we're coming up on our third anniversary, and
you're like 2 days away, or tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so and so we are everyone is a volunteer. I lose money on the site right now, but we do it because we love music and we love the scene. And more to the point, although we cover bigger bands, we really want to focus on highlighting bands that are still working their way up to getting their shot and to be seen. Because there's a lot of great music out there that just is not found.
Oh god, yeah.
Like I crack a joke, and we're going to talk about Blink-182 in a second, but Liquid Death put out this gag Enema of the State product with Travis Barker, and the video advertising it had like tens of thousands of views, and it's just him talking about like an enema and a bottle or a can of Liquid Death. Some band can put together one of the best albums you're going to hear of the year, and they're going to have like 30 or 40 people listen to it.
Yeah.
And TGFM is really about highlighting those bands. We're still working on building up our reviews crew. So if you ever want to do a review, reach out to us, because we can get you music promos and stuff before it comes out to review. But we primarily right now highlight news, new music, new videos, album releases. One of our editors, who goes under the name Bad Dad, has been knocking it out of the park with our recently launched roll of the dice format of interviews, where we literally roll a pair of dice, and however it lands is how many questions we get to ask.
Oh, interesting.
So we've had Russ from see what the last one. He's goodness gracious. We had a lot of people on there. God, come on, they had United Cigar on the Fat Music for Fat People.
Oh my God, this is going to be 3 people going, what the hell are we talking about?
Oh, I know. See, I totally had a brain fart, and I'm gonna as soon as I look it up. So we've had a bunch of bands, big and small, participate, and it's a lot of fun because we don't ever get to ask a follow-up. All the questions are written beforehand and shot off to them. So basically, good riddance.
There you go.
Perfect.
So basically, it's a fun little format, and he's been like getting like one published like every night of the week
wow.
now for
Wow.
like the past month or so, and he's just really knocking it out. So we want to get more reviews in, and we have a small but dedicated crew of reviewers. But you know, if anyone wants to, we're happy to join in, join hands, and get the good music out there for the people. So
That's awesome. That's something we talk about almost every week when we do this, is how there's always people that'll say like there hasn't been good music since I was in high school, and it's like just fucking lazy. Like
yeah. Oh, you know, it is 100% out there, and every day I at least find one new band that are just like, these people are doing their time in the trenches, and they deserve to be seen, and that's kind of what we're about. So
that's awesome. We can relate.
Yeah, we were, you know, speaking to your point of not making any money off of anything and the pure love of it, that's exactly how we feel. But unfortunately, that was one of my interview questions was, how can you make $1 million, but you're not going to be able to answer that one for me? So it's okay. It's all right. We'll figure it out together. So, but yeah, it is, you know, sometimes it feels like you're doing a lot of work for free. But again, it's like, you know, every week I spend Saturday kind of sitting on my couch watching movies and just compiling a new list of music to put up on social media and everything, and tag all the bands and make sure everybody's getting credit. And it's like, then you only get, you know, a few likes here and there, and then a couple comments, usually from the bands. And it's like, does anybody actually pay attention to this? And does any, you know, it's like, it gets to that point of, is this worthwhile? Are people getting, you know, like, are people just sharing that pure love of these bands? And some people do. And I think it's so worth it just to find these bands and to pile on my music collection like I do every week. It's so much fun. And I'm assuming that's the same kind of ethos that you guys have.
It definitely is 100%. I mean, like we know we're growing slowly but surely, you know, and you know, I think we reach somewhere around the average of 14 to 15,000 page views a month now, which is cool. You know, not so bad. It's pretty much almost all organic. I knew a guy who worked at Facebook right at the start, who was like worked in the programming department, and he would throw some ad bucks my way monthly, so I could just do ads, and then he would analyze how they worked out, and then cool. They could adjust it. But then he left, and so that changed. So pretty much our growth has been organic. And yeah, sometimes you're just like, you know, hey, I put all this work in, and like, oh, I just did this great interview and I transcribed it and everything, and look at this, and then like you get like 1 or 2 likes. Yeah. You're like, okay, fine. But you know, like there is like a kind of, I would say there is like a kind of benefit to it. You know, like I said, we get to hear bands before a lot of albums before they come out, released to the masses. We're getting our reviewers into concerts, big and small. I mean, one of my reviewers in Denver, who she's gone on to also write for New Noise and other publications for pay, but she still writes for us occasionally. Like, you know, she's getting into all the big Epitaph shows. One of my guys in New Jersey, he's going to shows in New York, like for some pretty big bands. So it's like, it's not like, you know, there isn't some type of compensation for what you're doing. Right. You know, being part of the scene, you're actually getting to be a part of the scene, getting to see a lot of the insides of how it all runs, and you get to be a part of, you know, helping to boost the bands you really want to really think other people should hear. And it's a good thing. It's a fun thing. So
I think like coming up in music and with doing art for bands and things like that, like you kind of get used to it after a while anyways. Like you're having fun going to the shows, meeting people, but like bands don't have money, so it's not like a great. Exactly. It's not something to make money off of, really.
Yeah, unless you get big, as we'll find out soon from some of the bands we'll talk about later. Yeah.
You want to jump into some news?
Yes, I think I think the thing that everyone knows about by this point, in fact, enough so that we kind of make a joke sometimes that we don't cover news if it's too big because you've already heard about it from sources that aren't
Yeah.
very music oriented. Blink 182 played at Coachella. I forgot some act, some whomever dropped out, they say, and Blink 182 showed up to fill in. And so this is their first performance together as the second incarnation of Blink 182 in quite a few years. The first two of the videos were dropped right away. I think What's My Age Again, and I forgot the other one. But over time, if you hit YouTube now for Coachella, I think a large portion of the set has been released now, so you can get a good feel of what the Blink Boys are sounding like now. And yeah, like a lot of people were excited about that. You know, so for example, I saw it on Vanity Fair. Or whatever, and I was just like, yeah, TGFM's not even going to waste a slot for this because everyone already knows, and I've got some band from Guatemala that I think you should really hear about, so I'm going to put that in the 2 p.m. slot anyways. But yeah, so that's some big news for people, and of course, like the big news, was it late last year or even earlier this year? I can't recall now. Was that the second lineup of Blink 182 is getting back together? So there's a lot of people that this is like hitting like their nostalgia buttons from their teenage years, especially.
You know, I woke up and I saw a video that morning because Coachella is overseas, right? That was overnight for us.
Is it? I thought it was.
Am I wrong? I don't know. I don't know if I'm not that. Anyways, I saw something. Maybe I saw it the next morning, and I saw it, and I played it, and it did hit me a little nostalgically. It was like, yeah, they belong there together. And I'm a Matt Skiba fan, like being from Chicago and all, like, but he has better things to do. And
yeah, like, and well, yeah, that was like the thing. It's like it was kind of heartbreaking because, like, yeah, so you know, we know Matt. I know Matt. I mean, like he was one town over from us. I remember seeing him in Jerkwater playing at the Crystal Lake Pavilion at the beach, like for the 4th of July festival, kind of thing. And it was like when he commented, when he was like, I don't even know if I'm in Blink 182 anymore. It's like,
yeah,
that was like not a really fun way to go about telling this guy who's kind of stepped in that he's not in the band. But people want what people want. They want the Mark, Tom, and Travis show. So.
Yeah. So like a few years ago, Blink played Riot Fest, and they played at the same time Jawbreaker played, so I wasn't going to see them. But there was a little bit of overlap though. It was at the end of the day, and walking over, I was going over to see Simeon over at the Stupid Rad booth, and so I walked past Blink, and they did not sound good live. It was not a good. I saw them back like way back in the day a couple times, and it was a lot of fun. But I did not care anymore. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I'm not. They're great guys and everything, but like they definitely, a lot of people say, aren't the best sounding live band. I've actually never seen them with Travis. The last time I saw them was on the Snowcore tour in like 96 or 97. There's like the DC Shuko Snowcore tour, and they did it because DC Shoes started making like snowboarding boots, and it was the Aquabats, who I think Travis was playing drums for at the time.
That's
then
right.
Blink 182, it's back when Scott was drumming, and Primus. And it was at the Madison Expo Center and was in Madison, Wisconsin. And it was fun because, like, you know, that was like, it was either right when or right about when Dude Ranch was coming out.
Okay.
And so, like, you know, it was their fun punk band, and that's what I really liked about them. And then I saw them one more time at the rave soon thereafter. And it was after Dude Ranch came out, so they were getting bigger. And I accidentally wandered backstage trying to find my way out, and ended up having a beer with Scott, the previous drummer.
Oh.
So he's a nice guy. Yeah, so it's like, for me, Blink-182 kind of stopped at Enema of the State. It's like some bands, like when they start evolving and changing their style, it's maybe something that I don't like, and I just don't follow suit. It's the same thing with Green Day. Like Dookie was like the last Green Day album that I ever bought, paid attention to. So it's like, yeah, you know, they still sound like a punk band live to me, but their music kind of has evolved to the point where sometimes it may not sound best live because it's more studioized.
With Blink for a while, I thought they can't really do this like dick and fart jokes like for the rest of their lives. They're going to get old. Then they started to like change and be a little more mature, and that didn't work either. Like I was not digging it. And it's funny because when Tom came back and they put out that song like 2 months ago or whatever, and it was a big dick joke, and I when I heard it, I was like, this is ridiculous. They're too old. And then just recently, I was thinking about it a little further. I don't know why I can't get rid of it, but I was thinking about it a little more, and I was like, you know what? Me and my friends make these same dumb jokes that we made when we were 15. So who am I to talk?
Who am I to talk? Let them make their millions.
Yeah, I don't have to have an opinion on that. It's fine.
But it's funny. It's like the one thing I always thought about Blink is that they hit at the right time. They basically took the Descendants' modus operandi, and they were at the right time, right when punk broke in the mid '90s, to ride that wave of like crass, and then like crass songs, and then like overly sincere, emotional, like heartbreaking songs, like songs that like are really like emotional, and like that was like I'm like, oh, Descendants are probably sitting there going,
Yeah.
you know, like we did this first, guys. But it's like they broke at just the right time to take that product and move and carry it on. But like, you know, it's like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket and Beyond. We're just a little bit too overproduced for my tastes.
Yeah.
And so I understand a lot of people that's like really Enema and Beyond is like when they really got into the band. So like I've got a lot of friends who are that's their Blink, that's what they know. And they listen to Cheshire Cat and things like that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's okay, but it's kind of sloppy."
I think
like,
Dude Ranch is like the sweet spot for Blink.
Yeah. But it's like one thing to say is like, man, Travis doesn't slow down. Like he can play. Like watching the videos from Coachella, he's like playing some of the slowest songs, but that guy just looks like he is like, I'm gonna tear this thing apart. But he's like, and I was like, okay, good. He's really still loving what he's doing. That's what I like. So,
yeah, you dig that.
Yeah. John, thoughts?
I'm not a huge Blink guy. I used to be, but I think basically I agree with what Eric was saying. It's like I think they had their thing. They had that humor and fun to them, then that was what a lot of us really kind of connected to. And then they tried to get a little too serious, like we said, and it didn't hit for a lot of people because it seemed like it was insincere almost. It seemed like it was when they were trying to grow up, it almost seemed like, okay, we're going to try to fit into the mold of normal punk kids. We got to grow up. And it was just, that was at the point where I stopped paying attention because I was like, it wasn't necessarily the dick and fart jokes. It was just that, you know, the fact that they were having fun and seemed like they were just being silly and being themselves. And it's like, you don't have to put that away and put away childish things to, you know, evolve as a band. You can still, you know, you can evolve your subject matter, but still be that fun unit of dopey kids, you know, because that's what I enjoyed about those guys. So that's my quick take on it.
I didn't follow them too much beyond Enema of the State. Like I heard all those albums, but I didn't listen to them probably more than once. But I feel like they got a little more, like they tried to ride that emo thing a bit back.
Yeah, and it was like, and here's the thing, it wasn't like the 90s emo that I like Texas Is the Reason is one of the best bands ever. It was that 2000s emo, and I was like, nah, thanks guys, but go back to the dick and fart jokes.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, there's a lot of fans, a lot of people who love them, and a lot of people who are extremely happy that they've got to experience this, especially some people who got into the band kind of towards the end when things were really starting to splinter quite a few times. So it's like now it's like to see them back together is like it's made the world to a lot of fans, and that's, you know, that's good enough for me.
Yep. I like it.
All right. So other big news, which is I don't remember exactly what part of the month this came out. Rancid is coming back with like, what is their 9th or 10th full length? I'm trying to count here.
Oh, I want to say it was I want to say it is their 10th, maybe.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 10th full length in 20
Wow.
years. Yeah, so that's quite a while. You know, and it's so the album is Tomorrow Never Comes. They released the new song and video.
So,
Thoughts, anyone?
as a big Rancid fan, I was fucking stoked, and I don't just like it a little bit. I loved the song, and it brought me back to like, you know, the first Rancid stuff that I ever heard. Like it had a very
Yep.
classic Rancid sound to it. Yeah, I was stoked. I'm still stoked. I still throw it on.
Yeah, so I had the I had the Rancid self-titled.
Hmm.
And it's funny because like I think I was introduced to Rancid. I think I knew they existed, but I hadn't heard them. And back in like this is like 1990s, 1993, whatever, 94, and it's like you know you either heard of bands through cassettes coming around, or you were able to pick up an album, or from other people. We didn't have the internet back then, at least not in the form we have it now. I heard the band because of the movie The Chase.
Oh,
Starring Charlie Sheen and the actress who played the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What's her name? Christy something. Because
yeah.
Epitaph like did the soundtrack, so it had like early Offspring, it had Rancid, it had NoFX, I think, in it. And so like, you know, the song The Bottle off of that first Rancid LP was on there, and I'm like, oh, this is great, you know, and like, oh, so the Ivy guys, I have to go find this. So I got that album, and it's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
And then Let's Go came out, and I was just like, nah, I'm done. it's like because like it was like the first one was like such a good punk album, and then Let's Go was just kind of like, okay, like I guess I see what they're doing.
Let's Go.
But, yeah,
Not in agreement.
a lot of people do. It's just for some reason it just wasn't the one for me. And I never bought another Rancid album. But so to what you said earlier, yeah, like the new song is, I really kind of dig it. You know, it's like it's got that like kind of that raw energy. You can still tell there's production behind it, which sometimes like. I really liked Rancid, their first album, because you could hear how good, especially in that Freeman's bass playing was, but it still sounded kind of shoddy.
Yeah. And
like I really love like kind of slightly shoddy sounding music that you can tell how good they are, and it's not a studio doing it. This one sounds a bit too clean, but I'm willing to still listen and see what's going to happen here. But 10th album, 10 in 20 years, you know, that's.
And they've been pretty solid too. Like there's there's some better than others, like, and nothing's beat Indestructible in a long time. I don't know, to me, but they've been good. Like Indestructible, I really loved, and I was surprised by Indestructible when it came out, like that it was that solid, like that many.
Which number was that? Out of the
that was like, gosh, it's 15 years ago. Or
6.
Okay,
that's number 6 in 2003.
Okay.
2003. Okay, so that's 20 years ago. Yeah,
30 years. I keep saying 20. I'm saying no, 30 years. 10 albums in 30 years.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they've just been powering on.
Well, then when you think about Tim Armstrong, I mean, he's done his Tim Time Bomb stuff. He's done the Transplants. Just a variety. What's the new band with Jesse again? Jesse Michaels.
Oh, their new name.
Yeah,
the
second name.
Is it? Which one is the new name? Is it Bad Optics or is it the other one?
No, so Bad Optics is the old name.
Yeah, and then
even though it's
the new
spelled
one?
It's like Doom Patrollers or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Bad Optics was cooler, but whatever, I guess.
Maybe they'll change it again. They'll hear this and they'll be like, you know, I think those guys are right. We should change it again. but then he's running Hellcat Records. Yeah. You know, so he's definitely like
promoting bands left and right. Like,
he's got his fingers in a lot of pots there, and doing his time in the trenches, I guess, too. Like just all the other little bands. You know, Rancid, that little ska punk band that'll someday get. Yeah. So good stuff. We have, I don't know, we have queued up yet. Avem.
Boom.
Okay. These guys I reviewed them last year when their Three Birds Stoned LP came out, the kind of like debut LP. They're like a pop punk band in the vein of Ramones core from I think Ontario, and they are bird punk in the sense that all of their songs are either about, from the perspective of, or talking about birds. So it's like it's either like this is the bird's story, this is the song about the bird, or this is like us observing birds, and it's really insanely fun. And so their new EP, Nerdin' About Birdin', is out, and it's just as good. It's
That was
if
a
you're
lot of
into
fun.
Ramones core, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it, and a lot of the stuff you're gonna hear, you may actually learn something because they actually know what they're talking about. They're
I
full
popped through
on
them this
bird.
morning. They were a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just looked it up as we were talking. I'm gonna queue it up for after the show. So
It
Yeah,
reminds me
it's
of I just got into at the end of last year, Fuck Yeah Dinosaurs. And all of their songs are all about dinosaurs, and they're
Yep.
all amazing.
yeah.
That tar pit song like gets me every time. I lost my mom.
So that
in a tar pit. Like it's so sad, but it's like they're singing about dinosaurs in a tar pit. I love it.
well, that's like when I did the review. So I got like a promo of the album, and I really got in touch with them, and like we did a lot of kind of silly, goofy things. We did an interview with them, and for the heck of it, so they have them has this kind of like penchant for responding to social media with like bird calls, like squaw or caw, thanks, kind of thing. So I did an interview, and we ran the first version of the interview that was all in bird talk, and I like went full bore. Like I found every single instance of word like the I replaced with caw, or talk was replaced with chirp. So the whole thing is like actually code that you can actually transcribe it back. Figured it out. And then the next day we actually ran the English interview in English.
It's a lot to ask an audience.
Yeah, it was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like is the you have your bands that always like kind of have a gimmick, and it's how well they adhere to that gimmick that works. Like you got your Masked Intruder, the Jasons. Kind of thing. McCrackens, of course.
I was going to say McCrackens, yeah.
Eggs, and so of them, like it's not hard for them to fill in that gimmick because the guys all really they enjoy birding, and so it's like for them, like, but even more so, like in the interview I did, they talk about how they've gotten like in contact with their local birdie community even more, and like so they get information, and then like they run past ideas and stuff like that. It's really good stuff, and it's a lot of fun, and I think people will enjoy it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
so
Nerdin' About Birdin'.
About Birdin'. I love that.
All right, what else do we have queued up here? Got a lot of things. On the looking forward front, I guess we can talk about some stuff that's coming up soon. And one of the things I'd like to talk about is a band from Exeter, UK, called Shit Present.
Love them. I've been waiting for this one for a while.
Yeah. And I knew of Shit Present, but they didn't really play around a lot when I was living in the UK. So we were living in the UK from 2013 to 2018. Their last album they put out, or last release, was in 2016. So this will be their first release in about 6-7 years. And I've really they've been released about 4 or 5 of the singles, and it's just really, really, really good stuff. And what I like about it is it's this kind of like indie punk kind of thing. But they like literally they just swear as part of like the anyone's regular conversation, like when we swear when we're talking and stuff like that. And I know that like at my age, like a band swearing shouldn't be so much fun, but the way that like Shit Present just drops it in, it's just like it feels so utterly natural. Like this one of the singles they released is just "Fuck It," and it's just like it's just "Fuck It," but it's like it's this like great little like indie song, and the band is like really. I don't know how long they've been that these songs have been stewing for them, but they are coming out of this pot like perfect. And they've released 5 songs out of 13 from this album. The album is called What Still Gets Me, and it's due out on the 5th of May. And we'll of course have it on that'sgoodenough4me.com. We'll have links where you can get it and everything like that. This is a band that a trio from the UK that I think everyone should also be trying out. So look them up on Bandcamp. They are Shit Present.
Yep.
Great name. We also have so for people who like their patty punk, if you will, Dropkick Murphys are coming out with their new Okima Rising, which are basically their versions of songs by Woody Guthrie. And I think that's coming out. I want to say the 17th, but I could be wrong. So I'm going to pull it up on my computer screen. Rising comes out on the 12th of May. So they've been really kind of leaning hard into this Woody Guthrie stuff for a bit, and they're really promoting it. So it's kind of interesting. You know, Dropkick Murphy's been around for a while. They're getting up in age. And some people have maybe rightfully criticized them for like, oh, like, you know, come up with some of your own songs. But if you're a fan of them or a fan of Woody Guthrie or even both, this has been quite a ride that they're putting people on. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy what's going to come out with that. Coming out 12th of May, and I don't know what label it is right now, so I apologize for that.
Oh God, no worries. Yeah, but I've liked some of their acoustic arrangements. They did some acoustic stuff for their last album too, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I like that they're actually playing a couple festivals around here, and one of them is called Fresh Grass, and it's basically like acoustic, folky kind of stuff. So they're headlining that, doing all acoustic set, and I thought that's like, I really like bands that can pull that kind of thing off and have fun doing completely new arrangements of old songs. And if they can pull it off and do sounds as good as they have been from other recordings live, then more power to them. They really have sounded good from what I've heard so far. So,
oh, definitely. Like I think, like, not that I had like an aversion to acoustic or anything, but I'm like a really big Lagwagon fan. So when Joey Cape and Tony Sly started doing those acoustic things together back in like the mid to late aughts, and then when we were living in France, they came through with John Snodgrass and at the time a little known guy on keyboards, Brian Wallstrom, who's now Band-Aid Brigade among others, and we saw them on one of the like little like kind of like party boats along the Rhone River. So it's like this narrow barge. It's like 10 feet wide, but like 40 feet long. And they're at one end and everyone's just kind of like piled in the back. And I was just like blown away. I mean, that was like one of the best musical experiences I've been to. And ever since then, like anytime a band starts trying to approach things acoustically, I'm like, I am going to give you a shot because
absolutely,
it definitely, it can be a great experience, and creatively, it's a lot of fun.
And it was really interesting. Like, as horrible as the pandemic was, seeing some of the people that had to, work on acoustic out of their living rooms to play for, doing rent parties and things like that. It was intriguing hearing people break it down like that into a more acoustic sound, and like to be able to get some of the like stories behind some of the songs too. Like I really liked the Super Suckers, and Eddie Spaghetti was doing a bunch of stuff from his living room to make rent every month. And
I know.
Was it sounded great. So it's definitely, if it comes out well, it's always just a pleasure to hear it. So
yeah, definitely. And I realize I kind of possibly even skipped past things that have just come out. So maybe we should step back in time, maybe at least to just this past Friday. A really good one. If you're into horror punk,
And we are.
a lot of people can.
Or I am. Sorry, I
This
can't
is-
speak for you, Eric.
This is a John thing for sure.
There's, I didn't know there are so many bands still
I know.
like completely 100% into it. So We Are Horror Records, which is kind of a newish label out of the UK, have released their second Horror Punks Not Dead compilation. The last one was in October, and I forgot how many bands it was, but this one,
But they
It's
really increased. It was like the first one was like 20 something or low 30s, and this one is like 50. I
51.
believe. 51.
Yeah, it's huge, and all for a cheap price. We highlighted it on the site, and we've kind of adopted. We hemmed and hawed about this, but now at least for album releases, we put like a for fans of kind of thing, and sometimes because we're not a serious site by any means, I put for fans of smooth jazz. We'll see if anyone notices. If that one
Yacht
comes
rock.
out.
Yeah.
But so they've been signing a lot of bands. They're getting ready to put out a lot of albums. Out of Colorado, it's kind of like artsy indie punk act. Transy Warhol have their I think their debut LP. Control has just come out. All these bands, you can find them on Bandcamp as well. What TGFM really tries to focus on is highlighting Bandcamp when a band releases something, because purchasing something is better for the band than streaming it through Spotify, unless you're. So we'll give you a Spotify link, but we always give Bandcamp first. So any band that I tell you about here, it's going to be on Bandcamp. The Scott Sellers of Rufio, he's been quietly putting together solo music for quite a while now, and it's some of the best melodic punk you're going to hear of the decade so far. And he'd been releasing songs that had kind of like same cover art singles over the past couple of months. So I'm like, oh, there's going to be an album coming out, and then he came out with a new album on Friday called Mercy Me, and it's none of the songs that he it's just all new stuff.
Nice.
It's great. It's worth listening to. We had a review. Our reviewer Tom Trauma did a review of the new LP by Billy Batts and the Made Men called "My Empire's Crumbling." These are a bunch of young guys. I swear one of them looks like he's 12. I mean, I don't know how old they are, but they have to be still in their teens, and they play that kind of, like as I said earlier, that kind of loose but fun, energetic punk. A little bit more energy than tightness, but sometimes that can even be better.
Yeah.
And we're really riding high on them right now. They're a good
Nice.
band to check
awesome.
out. And let's see. I'm not sure what else. I think I wrote something. Did I tell you anything else that I was going to?
You mentioned the Op Ivy tribute.
Yes, thank you. Early this month, April 7th. Thank you. Sorry, I still just kind of wowed by seeing Mark Zuckerberg today. I didn't even tell that story to our family.
Oh yeah.
I was at a charity run walk today on the grounds of Stanford University, and I was saying hello to one of the dogs from our group, and I stood up and I looked to my left, and I'm shoulder to shoulder with Mark Zuckerberg, who is there for his daughter to do the children's fun run in about a couple of minutes. I saw he was with his kids, so I didn't talk smack about Facebook to him. I didn't even say anything. So anyways, More Than Just Another Comp was released at the beginning of the month by Sell the Heart Records and Lava Socks Records. This is a tribute album to Operation Ivy. So I should have tied this in back when we were talking about Rancid. A tribute to Operation Ivy, and it covers pretty much almost their entire discography, including a lot of the demos and early songs that even a lot of hardcore fans didn't get to hear because they weren't released until the mid to late 2000s, and even later. But it's 33 songs. It's a great comp. There's a lot of love there. across a bunch of different types of artists who play different types of music. You see them adapting these songs. Some are pretty straightforward. Some are just way, way different than you would expect. There's at least 3 songs that incorporate chip tunes, if you will, which is like kind of like electronica. Sounds a lot like video games. We have some of the really big standouts are Flying Raccoon Suit.
Oh yeah.
Does this kind of like Dixie band version of Missionary, which was the last song off of Energy. And it is just, oh my goodness, like they swung and knocked it so far out of the park, no one could find the ball on that one. A lot of great bands. You got, so we got We Are the Union and Eve 6. Their previously released cover of Sound System. There's also the Chinkies' previously released cover of The Crowd, and American Television out of DC, their previously released cover of which one did they do? Oh, Officer. Okay. Other than that, the other 30 songs, as far as we know, are brand new, and some of them are fairly obscure. And because of the band didn't have the best quality for recording for the early demos, the new versions actually kind of build a lot for the songs. They sound good for once.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But it is a stellar, phenomenal comp. It was on vinyl. I think vinyl got sold out, but you can still pick it up for a super cheap, $12 from Bandcamp. And if you're a fan of Operation Ivy, it's a must-have. I think it's a good companion to the 1997 Take Warning tribute comp that came out.
Yeah, I ordered the vinyl, so I haven't actually played any of the tracks yet because I want to hear it first on vinyl.
Oh yeah, so we luckily enough, occasionally when there's a tribute album that comes out, we'll have a track by track discussion, and so we got some of the team together to go through and just talk about the songs, what we liked, what we may have not liked, but the overall consensus was that there's like Operation Ivy are probably one of the lesser known bands of the era outside of the scene, but they are so much an inspiration.
That makes sense.
And a driving force for what came afterwards.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's just a lot of love put into a lot of these songs, and it's top notch, a great tribute comp.
Yeah, it was
probably
super
as good as the Fugazi tribute comp that came out a couple years ago.
Velvet Heart also did a Jawbreaker one a couple years ago.
They did, yeah. We covered that one as well.
That one was all over the place with like the bands. Like I liked that nobody really like copied the song. They all had their own take kind of on it.
Yeah. There's very few like I'm just going to play it straight.
Yeah,
you know, and that's really kind of what a tribute comp should be.
Yeah.
So what we did, we held a big interview series, a Roll of the Dice interview series for it with some of the bands, and we also so we did some of the bands. We got some of the people from the labels, and so there is some interest in maybe doing some other ones, and they kind of hinted those in the interviews. So I think we'll see more, and I think if they do keep doing these, I think they're a hit. People like them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely snagged the Jawbreaker, and then I saw this one. John had sent this one to me a while back, and I snagged that real quick. One of the bands on there is Bumsy and the Moochers. I'm looking forward to hearing that track. They, Caitlin from the band, she does the Punk the Burbs Fest. She's one of the people running that. I sponsored them this past was it October or whatever, their latest festival. And had a lot of fun there. So
yeah, so we got them for an interview.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So we've been following Bumsy and the Butchers a bit. One of our guys reviewed their LP that just came out as well.
It's fun.
So I think I was gonna do it, but like for some reason my download only had like half the songs, and then it only had half of those half of songs. Like something got corrupt, and I was like just gave it to my other guy and do it. So, but yeah, so it's and I guess that kind of leads us to maybe a topic of discussion. Are we in the fourth wave of ska?
Oh,
I mean, to me,
Yeah.
it's just always been ongoing. But I'm a giant ska dork from since like that last wave in the '90s. So, a lot of people just gave up on it and said, "I'm done." But I mean, a lot of these bands have been putting their heart and soul into it for years.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep calling it the same one that's been going. So,
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, we definitely
Yeah.
are seeing some more up and coming, and like things like Bumsy and things like that are definitely coming in and filling some of those holes in my heart that were there. Like there's like there's things like Catbite and Half Past Two and some great little bands that are up and coming that I'm in love with. So yeah, like I said, to me it's been ongoing, but it's so nice to see some of these new kids doing it too. So
Yeah, I that sentiment is echoed by, I think, one of my guys who I've known is a friend of mine since the early '90s, but so he writes under the name Riz Checks, but he's a big ska fan as well, and he tries to like juggle that sense that like yeah, there's been ska bands constantly, and there are ska fans and there are ska shows and everyone's going, but there does seem to be a resurgence in interest.
exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think like, so I don't know if you call it the fourth wave or whatnot, but it's definitely like a lot of the interest is there. And I think Mike Sosinski, who's runs Bad Time Records, he's helping to drive that. I think he's just like putting out so many good albums, and he's just trying to find every ska band he can get his hands on.
Yep.
To put an album out, like Bad Apparition, Catbite, all those guys. And I think it can only go up from
Yeah.
there, because it's been there and ska bands have been playing, but now maybe we're getting back to maybe not the heady highs of the '90s when big bands like Boss Tones were playing giant festivals and things like that. But these bands are selling out their shows,
Yep.
at decent venues. So it's, that's more money in their pocket. More money in their pocket means healthcare. It means don't have to
Right.
work a factory job. You can keep playing music, getting on the road, doing what you love, and more power to them. I'm 100% behind that.
Yes. No matter
one
what you call it.
of my last ska purchases was the Real Big Fish acoustic album.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
But going back to the acoustic thing, I guess.
Yeah. Alrighty. I think that's about all I had for you today.
That's
Do you have
awesome.
anything for me?
Yeah. What do you got, John?
Well, I was going to say, and you might know this is not really specifically for you, but since we've been talking about Bandcamp, do you know, it's usually first Friday of the month they do the Bandcamp Friday where all the money goes to the bands. Is that coming up this Friday?
Yes. So
It is
this
coming
coming
up.
Friday, the 5th is the next Bandcamp Friday, and if you've been living under the rock for the past couple of years, Bandcamp Friday. All the purchase funds go straight to the bands. Bandcamp does not take their usual cut, and then anything after processing fees that are associated with the whatever company's processing the payment or the charge goes to the bands, and it's a great time. It's usually like bands music sells like hotcakes. It's become such a great thing. Bandcamp keeps doing it because even though they're not getting any money those days, people come back and they'll spend money later on. It's financially feasible for them. And also what you'll find is a lot of times bands will actually put their discography on discount, because for them it's a digital purchase most of the time.
Right.
Like you can spend $1 on it and that's still like 10,000 plays on Spotify for them,
Yep, exactly.
kind of thing. But so it's a good time to keep your eyes on the bands you like. We try to up our publication of posts on new releases on Bandcamp Fridays. Sometimes we'll shoot out one every 30 or 15 minutes, maybe sometimes even more common. You may not see them all on Facebook or Instagram, where we do have a social media presence. So always be sure to come back to the site, that'sgoodenough4me.com. You can click on new releases and just see a whole bunch of these bands. And anything you see on a Bandcamp Friday, any new album release is going to be on Bandcamp. If some band releases something and it's only on Spotify on Bandcamp Friday, they're shit out of luck until Saturday. We're not going to talk about it because it's one of the best ways in this current market and the way things are now to get money into a band's hands.
Exactly.
Unless you put their album on repeat on Spotify for like 24 days.
Right.
And then maybe they can buy like a coffee or something.
Yeah. And already Bandcamp is one of the best resources for bands. They get the highest percentage out of that website than any place else. But Bandcamp Friday, even more so. It's great to support the bands you love. And not only that, but, you know, like you said, the bands will put their discography on sale, but you'll also see brand new albums, they'll often hold off on some of the releases and new singles and things specifically for Bandcamp Friday. So for me, it's like a holiday every time they have one, because I get, you know, so many new things coming my way, and it's just a joy always to see all these bands putting new things out.
It's become kind of like the Steam sales, you know, when Steam goes on sale and like all the games are like discounted to like 25 cents or something. And but it is like a holiday, right? And also what's great is that's a good time. A lot of bands and labels will release music for charity. I know Wiretap Records very often, 4 times a year, they release their Attention. It's always Attention, and it's a benefit com. And it'll vary sometimes, but a lot of the times it's for the ACLU, and it'll be a name your price download. All proceeds to some charity, which is great. So once again, some labels and bands will turn around and just give everything they have back to something that they believe in. So it's also a good time for a band, like just to throw your money to band and hopefully help them out with something that they think is a worthy cause. So.
And also something that might help.
Advertisement hour.
Well, I was going to say something that might help this week is I just realized it's also going to be Cinco de Mayo. So have a couple margaritas and you take out your credit card and just hope you're not fucking broke the next day. So that might help.
Yeah, definitely.
I hadn't thought about that, huh?
Yep.
It's funny because Cinco de Mayo, I now live in the Bay Area, and there's like I can't trip without falling into a taqueria. So good, so good.
Some nice fresh squeezed lime juice. Perfect.
Which, if anyone is curious, we are still in quote unquote temporary housing, and my computer and desk are in our closet. So hopefully by the next time I'm back, we'll be in our permanent housing, and I'll actually have a window and some light.
Still, everybody gets to see. I got a vacuum behind me and some glare, so it's fine. So
yeah.
I make up for it.
I know Eric's got all the swag behind him in a vinyl like thing. He's making us look bad, but that's okay.
There's like epilepsy warning flashing lights.
There's my Tim Time Bomb print.
Oh, yep.
Stoked about that. I got that as a gift.
And then Eric had sent me the thing where you had said that we could contribute a couple songs to your playlist. So I don't know if you wanted to talk to us about that.
So every Sunday or thereabouts, we're kind of, not we don't really stick to the schedule. So we started 2023 with what we call our kind of growing playlist. And each week our TGFM contributors get to nominate a song to add to the playlist, and it has to be a song that's 4 weeks old or less. And if you accomplish that, then you can also submit a song from any time. And we have some stringent rules about this, and few people haven't noticed, but we also make this available to our readers. They have to go to the website, to the actual post about it, and submit their picks for the next week. So what I'd like to ask you two is if you'd like to add any songs to this week's playlist before it goes live.
Eric, you want to go left to right? Eric, you want
to?
Yeah. So for a new song that I enjoyed that just came out a couple days ago, I think. And actually, I first heard it because it played after that new Rancid song on Spotify. It rolled into It was Teenage Bottle Rockets So Dumb, which is the title
Okay.
track on their new EP that just came out. So that would be my suggestion for most recent.
That is So Dumb, So Cool,
So
4-song
Dumb.
EP out to the 28th of April
There
by
you go.
Pirates Press Records.
There you go. Yep. And I enjoyed the album, but that song I really did enjoy.
All right, and that's your new song.
Yes.
what's your
So
old song?
for an old song, I was just I spent some time in Indianapolis this week for work, and I was at Square Cat Vinyl flipping around, and I came across Promise Ring's Horse Latitudes. And
Ooh.
So I snagged that, and from that, I would nominate I Never Trusted the Russians, which is the final track on that album. And it's a terrific album from an amazing Midwest band.
All right, yeah. I think I only saw them once, and it was in some weird place in Milwaukee. Smoking Popes were opening.
I only saw them for their reunion, actually. I'd never saw them originally. I saw Davey play some stuff, but I never saw them live. So they played the day after Smoking Popes reunited in 2005 at the Metro. So I went for the Popes show, and then I went back the next night, and it was a lot of fun. But they were amazing.
Speaking of Smoking Popes, that's a nice T-shirt you have.
Yes.
I wonder who designed it.
Is that for sale on their site right now? I actually got somebody asked me about it today when I was out.
I think it's sold off. I think it's sold well enough that they put it on sale now. So for those people who don't know, I've been drawing Smoking Popes since the first Smoking Pope was drawn. I'm the guy who drew the guy. So I've been doing, so now it's 30 plus years I've been doing little Smoking Popes. And when Mike reached out to me, he's like, I want a Nintendo looking guy. And I'm like, okay, so how about we not have just one? How about we have the whole band and we use like the Mega Man sprite? And
Perfect.
That's what I landed on. And people went out of their minds. Like it's
great.
It's
perfect.
A fun shirt. People love it. So
Yeah, put up on that one immediately.
yeah. All right. And John?
Okay, so mine for recent is going to be Kathleen Turner Overdrive with the new single Girlzilla. Do you know that one? Or
I do not, but I'm going to in a second.
okay, oddly, if you look on social media, there's two Kathleen Turner Overdrives, believe it or not. One of them has the suffix of like little abbreviation of KTO. So it's Girlzilla with GUR, and it's kind of a down with the patriarchy fun kind of song. So and yeah, if you look it up on Bandcamp, they definitely have it up there, and it's got a like, I can't remember what, there's some kind of crazy thing about like, just when you look it up on Bandcamp, you'll see, but it has a crazy moniker down in the logo of it, and it's a lot of fun. So I highly recommend that. And for my older song, like I said earlier, I really dig the Super Suckers, and I'm going to go with Born with a Tail off of Sacrilegious Sounds of the Super Suckers.
All right. I don't remember. I kind of remember the first time I heard that song. I had a friend who was really into Super Suckers. And so one night we're just cruising around, because that's what you did before you had internet.
Yep.
You would actually get in your car and just drive around and listen to music. And he played that album, and it was like, whoa.
I
think
love
that's
that
what made me a
album.
fan, actually.
And like we did, my wife and I started singing them with just a few years ago, and they're still one of the best fucking club bands you'll ever see. They just put on a ridiculous show, stupid banter, fun, just like balls to the wall, like the entire show. It's just a fabulous show. So if you get a chance to see them live, I would highly recommend that. So
I will do so.
awesome.
Thankfully, I'm in an area where there are a lot of shows, and I haven't gotten a chance to go to one yet, but I need to.
Yes.
I gotta get back.
Alrighty.
So
So all those songs will show up. Our playlist will go live shortly. It normally goes live around 8 o'clock ish in the evening, Eastern time. But I wanted to wait till we got this done, so I'll set it up to go live about 10 o'clock Eastern time, and we'll have all the new songs that we've all come up with for this week. It grows every week. We have like 144 songs now since January 1st and January 2nd. And we're going to keep going until the end of the year, and then we're going to set this one aside and start again for 2024.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
dig that.
Great stuff. All right.
So Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Hey,
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for reaching out. I think this is great. Muckspout tickles a lot of bases that I dabble my fingers in. I know Eric is an artist just like me,
Yep.
and he's more published than I am. But I hope to work on that. But it's comics, pop culture, music.
We're working on
Definitely.
an anthology book that ties tied into punk and comics right now. So I'll have to clue you into that. Maybe you can get in on it.
I would love to. Hopefully soon, from the art side of things, I'll have some news that I can share with you. I don't have anything yet, but there's some projects in the work that may also interest both our comic and music lovers.
Awesome.
So we'll get to those soon. And thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
We'll have to do this again real soon.
Yes, we do.
And John, as always.
Always wonderful to talk to you, and very nice to meet you, my friend.
Pleasure to meet
New
you.
friend.
New friends, yes.
And here we go. See you guys on the other side. Hey, you made it through an entire episode. Good for you. If you're looking for more, give the rest of the channel a look. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We'll catch you fuckers next time. Later.